Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining Launch Accelerator 2020 in Demo Day. I'm Vera Xiao. I'm one of the co-chair for the program this year. We also have our core team, our instructors, mentors, investors on the call as well. It's very exciting today. Given the situations, we actually had more people signed up for our event. Today, I can hear people are still joining, but we actually have about 150 investors registered for the event. We're going to reach about 300 on the Zoom link alone. And we also have about 250 to 280 people registered for the general audience who will be watching the demo day through the YouTube live streaming. So it's a very exciting moment for us. And thank you all for attending this and then supporting our startups and supporting Launch Accelerator. Just a couple of housekeeping thing before we moving on. So for those people who are on the Zoom link, please try to keep yourself muted and have your camera off if you are not presenting or pitching. So we can reduce the disruption to the presenters throughout the process. And if you could also change your display name to have your name and also your role, that will help us distinguish who is who. And then if we have, especially helpful during Q&A and during the chat session. And also we will be doing, we actually already started video recording of the whole demo day. The purpose is for us to send our startups their pitch so they can continue improve and be better in the future. So with that said, I think we can get started. All right. So many of you already know what Launch is. For those of you who are new to Launch Accelerator, we are a Berkeley-based accelerator, but open to all UC campuses and affiliation. We are a founder-first accelerator, which means we don't take any equity from our startups. Instead, we are mainly focused on helping our founders and startups move on to the next phase. Our program runs from January to May, early May each year. And it's a rigorous and battle-tested curriculum that's based on Steve Blank's Lean Launchpad method, which is very popular in the Bay Area and improved success. Each team will be paired or more joining a cohort of 20 to 25 startups each year. And then they will also be connected to our alums, successful investors and entrepreneurs as a way to help them branch out and build to the next phase. Our program actually started 21 years ago as a business plan competition, but in 2015, we rebranded to a totally new accelerator model. So far, we have 100 teams went through the process, and together they raised about 128 million so far. So it's very impressive, and we are very proud of what they have done so far. So this year, we accepted over 120 applications in the fall, and 22 teams were selected and went through the process with us in the spring. Of the 22 teams, they attended the semifinal 2 weeks ago and then pitched their startup, and we selected the top 10 to pitch today at the demo day. The top 10 teams actually represented 4 UC campuses, and that's Berkeley, UC Davis, UCLA, and the UC San Diego. We are very proud to have a presentation from all 4 campuses, and hopefully in the future years, we can have participants from more campuses. Here is the agenda for today. From now till 7 p.m., it's the pitching. From 7 to 7:30, we have a small break for dinner, as well as for the judges to regroup and decide who we're gonna win today. From 7:30 to 7:45, we have a short award ceremony, And after that, the startup are hosting the expo idea in their breakout session. So investors, if you're interested to talk to specific startups, feel free to sign up on the Calendly link in the lookbook we have shared with you 2 days ago. I think one of our team members will also post the link to the lookbook in case you want to have access right now. All right, for the pitching, like I mentioned earlier, we have 10 startups. They will be judged on market, meaning are they targeting a market with a reasonable business that will have a good return in a reasonable timeline? Product, do they have a good product fit? Are they actually addressing the problem the target market have? Third is on teams. Does the team have the relevant skill sets and experience to take their startup to the next stage? And lastly, is about pitching and stagecraft, whether the team has conveyed their story efficiently. So based on all the criteria, our panel of judges will select and vote for the top three startups in the Launch 2020 cohort. In addition to that, we will be giving a Best Pitch award for a startup who may not scored as high in all three other categories, but have done excellent job in telling their own story. In addition to that, we also have 2 audience awards. One is being voted by all the investors, and one will be voted by the general audience. Towards the end of our session, so around 7 p.m., we will be sending an email with links to the audience awards for folks who registered on the Eventbrite. We will also be posting the link to the survey for the investors in the Zoom channel here in the Zoom chat. And for the general audience, we'll be posting that on the comment section of the YouTube streaming. All right, so like I mentioned, we have a panel of judges. This year we have 10 judges joining us, which is probably the highest so far we have, and we're very happy for that. The 10 judges are all coming from the entrepreneurship world, and they have a proof of success and then a track record of background. So we go ahead and introduce them. So we have Sasha from WomenHealth, and Jazz from Blackstone, and Sydney from Precursor Ventures. And we have Victoria from our UC, and Alan from Jazz Venture Partners, and Brandon from Value Partnership, and Kevin from Techstars. And we also have Erica from the Blackstone Group, Danielle from Alchemist Accelerator, and then Jed from Javelin. We also want to call out our sponsors, and thanks all for their support this year. It's been a tough year for us, but they are with us and supported us throughout the year. And I don't think we can make this far without them. I also want to call out to our mentors and our staff and our student teams who have made all our events possible and provided a lot of guidance and help to our startup. All right, so I think now it's time for the actual pitching. Today we have the 10 teams representing 4 different categories. They are software and SaaS, consumer tech, lifestyle, CPG, as well as the services. Each team, they will have 10 minutes total, 5 minutes for the actual pitching, and 5 minutes for Q&A. And we also have 1 minute built in for transition from team to team, and also allows our judges to wrap up on the scoring part. Given our share value and we only have 5 minutes in Q&A, we're gonna restrict our Q&A only to the judges. And judges, if you want to ask the specific questions, please put down your name in the Zoom chat, and we will call out you to ask you a question on a first come, first serve basis. And for investors, I apologize, we can't really open the panel for your questions, understanding that we have very limited time. But after the ceremony, all the startups are having their expos. So feel free to book time to talk to specific startups and have more deep dive kind of questions and discussions that help the startup later. So I think that's all the logistic. I think we can get started. Our first thing is PlanSite.
Hi everyone, we are PlanSite, a construction software startup focused on improving the quality of visuals across the construction industry. So this is $10 trillion, and no, this is not how much money we're asking for today. Rather, this is the amount of money that's been spent every single year across the globe on construction-related goods and services. Now, you would think, for that amount of money, that would buy you the top-of-the-line, state-of-the-art graphics, right? Not exactly. So this is a site logistics plan. And site logistics plans are legally required on every single project that you see across the globe. Basically, it tells you how a company is going to be performing the work. It'll say things like, here's where my fence is, here's where the main equipment is, here's what I'm going to shut down. And maybe you're like, okay, that's an extreme example, but these are actual working site logistics plans. They're really just marked up PDFs or satellite images. They work, but they're not really easy to understand at a glance. Now, you might be thinking, okay, construction visuals suck. What does that have to do with me? So let's try to put yourself in the shoes of a construction professional. Let's say that you are a city official and you're given something like this. They say, hey, I'm going to be taking down a crane and I'm going to shut down these two streets. It's going to be here and here. It looks fine, right? They've got plenty of space. We're shutting down the relevant streets. It should be good. Well, not exactly. Last year in Seattle, a crane collapse actually killed 4 people. 2 that were dismantling the crane and 2 that were on that main street. And you would look at that plan from the previous slide and you'd be like, wait a second, how is that possible? But if you were to actually see that same plan in 3 dimensions, you would see what a hazard it is, how tall that crane actually was. And in fact, it really seems much easier to understand it this way, right? Why don't all companies show it like this when you have lives at stake?
This is because representing things this way is hard. Both Darren and I have been instructors for teaching engineering students how to use Revit, the leading 3D modeling software.
And let me tell you, it is not easy to even get these freshmen in engineering to get it over an entire semester.
Now imagine you're a construction professional trying to learn this without that technical background.
Or without the time, for that matter. The simplest platform available right now is SketchUp, and you either get a result that looks like something like you see on the left, which is, you know, it's not great, it doesn't give you a good feeling, or you can spend so many man-hours creating something like you see on the right, something that's presentation ready. But this is not something that most companies are actually able to do because most construction companies are small. They don't have the manpower on an average project to do this. So they'll give you that hand-drawn one in the end. That's where PlanSite comes in, which is a better way to make functional 3D site logistics plans that look good and also feel good to make. That visual earlier of the crane collapse was from an early build of our platform, which uses a Unity-based drawing and rendering pipeline to create presentation 3D graphics as easily as marking up a 2D plan. We took a lot of our inspiration from mobile games. It feels good to actually use it. And in the end, we feel like this entire final graphic is so simple, so pleasurable, and it only took 2 minutes to actually create something of this quality rather than the hours and hours of training and time working on it that it would usually take. Through launch, we spoke with some employees from some of the largest construction firms across the US and found the pain was clear. Companies find existing solutions unaffordable or hard to approach, but all of them want to improve their graphics to keep their advantages. We're going after a $200 million target market, having received lots of feedback from early customers about how much they pay for the existing packages and how much they would pay for our products. We intend to capture market share with the release of our first standalone app, PlanSite Logistics, this summer, then release our second service, PlanSite Safety, which is a project-based geometric safety checker to analyze logistics models later this year. We're confident that our team is the best to deliver this product with 3 alumni of the University of Illinois Engineering Program, current graduate students at UC Berkeley and U of I, and years of experience across construction, software development, and graphics. PlanSite is looking for connections to mentors to help us really scale our business, as well as investment to help us hire more talent to hit our milestones. Thank you very much for listening, and we will now be open to questions.
Thank you. Judges, if you would like to ask questions, please put down your name on the chat. Jad, do you like to ask?
Sure. Thanks for that, guys. So the knock on construction tech historically has been that it's just really slow to sell to all the groups. The sales cycle is just very long. How are you going to make this something that's easy for them to say yes to and easy to onboard and for them to get started?
One thing about this package versus existing ones is that, I mean, on its face, it looks a lot better. And in general, a lot of the time when I found in my experience working in construction has been people tend to look at what other companies are using and they always want to maintain that advantage in the end. I think the main thing that we're trying to tackle here is really just ease of use and approachability. We found a lot of companies, they're buying this software just because other companies are using it, and then just to say they have it and they don't end up using all of it. I think the main thing that we need to show them is it doesn't have to be scary, it doesn't have to be slow, and the end result is going to look much better already, so you can impress your clients right away. If you target that aspect of saying, we're gonna make sure that your owner is going to look at your bid package more favorably than anyone else's, I think that's the strongest selling point of all. So I think to address your question, which was regarding picking it up quickly, construction companies are generally looking out for things that can address their pain. And if we can show them that this is easier to use than existing platforms with a better looking result, they're going to want to buy it right away.
I think having a great product like this will certainly get them interested into the table. I think you're going to have to find ways to remove all friction possible to get them to actually try it. It's going to be harder than you might be realizing from what I've seen with other products.
Yeah, and that's why our implementation is a little bit slower. We intend to roll it out with a few companies that we have deeper connections with first. And then once we can kind of get their stamp of approval, that's when we can go with the more ambitious approach of saying, okay, here, now you can pick this one up.
Erica?
Yeah, I guess along the same lines, do you plan to have a customer service element to your model?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of the things that construction professionals are worried about is they're like, oh, but what if it doesn't have this? What if it doesn't have this? So that's why we're starting this out a little bit more slowly so that we can address issues as they come up. If there are any kind of cascading issues, we can address them right away just as a small team. So we will treat it like a traditional software company where we're highly responsive to any feedback that they might have. And that's why it's important for us in order to scale upward that we also can expand our team as well.
Jazz?
That was a really nice job, guys. So if you could go back to the slide that you had on the total size of the market, the TAM page where you had the $200 million market size, you could chat a little bit about how you came up with that in terms of the bottoms up size. It's not a very large TAM, that $200 million target market. So we'd love to talk to you about it, how you thought about that size, and then specifically the competitors within that market segment and how your product and technology is differentiated in that group.
Sure. So existing platforms like SketchUp, for example, which is the example that we showed you earlier, that's roughly $150 per license per year. And that's about how much construction companies are paying at the low end of 3D modeling software. Similarly, 2D, you have Bluebeam, for example, which is about $100 per person per year. We were thinking that for a product like this, especially if we build in the Unity platform, it's all built in the Unity platform. A lot of companies, they're buying multiple things, like they get a Unity license and then they get SketchUp and then they try to run it through to make it look prettier. We're providing them with the value of removing that frustration. They no longer have to spend money on two separate things or a more complex, expensive platform like Fuser, for example. So we feel that $200 per license per, so we have our estimate based off of $2,000 per license per year is pretty conservative, especially because when we did our first pilot project with Mortensen, they said that easily just with the site logistics drawing tool, they would easily pay about $100 a month for that. So we're confident that while 200 million seems low in the beginning, if we can really land and expand with those early customers and grow the amount of features once we get that recognition, we can get a lot more, we can grow a lot larger later on, especially if we get in safety features, but that also takes on a lot more liability. I think our competitive advantage in this space is that, for one, we're cheaper. Already, if you look at something that can produce a very good graphic in the end, something like Fuser or Autodesk InfraWorks, they're paying something like $75,000 a year per license. So this is something that's incredibly expensive with a great result, but only large companies can afford that. When you look at a small to mid-sized company, when they are thinking about their training programs and they want to just have something that everyone in the field could potentially use, and then not only that, it reduces the load of virtual design and construction engineers who are traditionally higher paid members of the staff, this is something that can really add a lot of value to their company. So we're not looking at a features focus, we're rather looking at a simplicity and pleasantness focus, just to, kind of dress it up in the end.
Okay, thank you, team. We have to move on to the next team. Next team will be Sike Insights.
All right. I don't think I need to convince anybody here that the world has changed forever. We've gone towards an increasingly remote environment, and we started communicating more over Microsoft Teams and Slack specifically. Microsoft Teams actually grew its user base by 37% in 1 week in the middle of March. But the problem is, it's still really hard to communicate using these tools. We talked to over 200 people at the top all remote companies, including Buffer, GitLab, Zapier, you name it. And overwhelmingly, the feedback we got is that it's really hard to communicate effectively with your remote teammates. Remote team managers are spending up to 50% of their time trying to solve this problem, build and manage their relationships. And they're spending up to $20,000 per employee per year on better communication. Their current spend across the US on better communication is, in a remote setting, is $4 billion. And they're spending it on tools like personality assessments and work with me docs. But the problem with these is that you do them once and you never use them again. You write a personality assessment or you write a big doc on this is how to work with me, this is my communication style, and you never refer to it again. So what's the point? Work with me docs actually have an adoption rate of 5 to 10% within remote companies. That's why we built Kona. Kona is an AI-powered Slack bot that helps you communicate more effectively with your remote team. So if you see here, when you install Kona to Slack, it first asks you and your manager to go over a few questions about how do you like to get feedback? How do you communicate? And you kind of just click respond, answer some simple multiple choice questions, write answers in more detail if you like. But also, and more importantly, the AI analyzes the way you and your teammates interact on public Slack channels, and it's able to identify each person's communication style. For example, if I'm talking to Andrew in the engineering channel and he tags me in a message, I can see Andrew just tagged you in a message and check out his profile and his insights. So I can see how he likes to give feedback, get feedback. So for example, I can see, give me feedback over a video call or during one-on-ones. This also goes into a full-fledged profile that you can check for anybody in your team, as well as in your actual Slack profile that you can then share and share the link with other people. We've seen in our early customers, whereas READMEs and manually written docs have an adoption rate of 5 to 10%, we have a minimum of 60% adoption, which is a 6x increase. As well as our early customers, the managers have been saying they found a 20% increase in the efficiency of their communication because they no longer have to spend that time trying to understand, how do I phrase this message or how do I give this feedback to this person? We've also made a ton of progress. We've secured 20 pilots so far with 4 paying customers, including some of the top all remote companies in the world. So Buffer, Rainforest, Redux Engine, Chef Software, you name it, we've been piloting with them. We've also seen strong organic inbound leads on the website, and actually 19% of the people that visit the website actually click the try for free button. This is all with zero marketing spend and all cold LinkedIn outreach. But it's not just customer acquisition. Our existing customers have loved it. Here's a quote from the director of engineering at Chef Software, who said, "This is going to make my job as a manager so much easier." I'm serious. People actually love this. For example, GitLab and Buffer both added Kona to their handbook and their website for Slack bots that we admire and tools that enable remote teams respectively. And we've been getting a ton of press and a ton of interest generated around our product. We plan to price it at $600 a month for the base tier and increase it based on a tiered monthly subscription, which is pretty standard for enterprise-focused Slack bots. We're starting with an introductory pricing of $50 per month. But this is just the beginning. We're starting with Slack, but eventually the plan is to slot on top of and build that layer of communication on top of whatever communication or collaboration tools you use. So whether it's Teams, Zoom, Jira, 15.5 Lattice, you name it, Kona will be there. Kona the dog will be your best friend at work to guide you on how you can effectively communicate with your remote teammates. I'm Sid, I'm the CEO. Myself and Andrew, we're both the engineers on the team. I'm leading backend engineering with my experience at Zumper. I've done enterprise product management. Andrew started a business in high school, made 50K in revenue. He's leading front-end engineering and design. We're both Kleiner Perkins engineering fellows. And Kareen actually just graduated from UCLA in 2.5 years, summa cum laude, full departmental and Latin honors as well. We have some awesome advisors. Alex has been working remotely for the past 6 years. Jorge is the CTO of a YC startup. And Darren is the head of remote at GitLab, which is the world's largest all-remote company. He's actually the #1 remote work expert in the world. We're looking for $250,000 for 18 months to help build out our and actually scale our product now that we've built it and worked with some early customers. And we've raised $45,000 out of this from Aero Capital and Dorm Room Fund. Also, because Andrew and I are Kleiner Perkins fellows, we actually have the opportunity to raise a further $100,000 from Kleiner Perkins as part of a larger round. We're Sike Insights, and we're helping remote teams solve the huge problem of effective communication and building relationships in a remote setting. Thanks.
Thank you, Sid. Judges, if you would like to ask a question, please put down your name on the chat. Jess?
So this was a great presentation, and your business couldn't be more topical for a post-COVID world. So kudos for being really timely with your business proposition. Tell us a little bit about other Slack bots that have been monetized, understanding a little bit about their pricing, how they work, and any valuations or any recent rounds, any comps that you have amongst other Slack bots, and why you're looking to get valuations or raise capital at the specific amounts you're looking for.
Absolutely. So I think the best example of this is actually a tool that started in Slack, because like I said, we're starting in Slack, but we don't plan to stay in the Slack ecosystem for very long. It's just the easiest way for us to acquire customers and add real value without having to build a ton of infrastructure. So I think the best example of a tool that took the same path is actually Tandem, that came out of Y Combinator 2019. They raised something like $60 million in the summer of 2019. This was, again, all pre-COVID. And remote work was exploding even then. So there's a ton of really big tools that started in Slack and then exploded from there. So Tandem is one example. There's also Donut that stayed in Slack that's raised, I think, $15 million. There's Crystal Knows, which has raised $15 million. So there's a ton of very, very sort of budding Slack-based tools that provide sort of insights or help build culture and engagement around this. But the advantage we have is that because we're able to identify each person's communication style, we're actually almost training managers on how they can effectively interact with their team. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Victoria?
Hey, Sid. Great presentation, by the way. And again, echoing what Jazz said earlier, you couldn't be more timely with your solution. So, and obvious that you've had some traction early on. So what is your top priority in the next 3 months? And with a new funding raise, how do you plan to deploy it? Specifically, what metrics are you watching closely?
Absolutely. Andrew, do you want to talk about the engagement with the product?
Yeah, for sure. So right now we have pretty solid engagement. We have 71 weekly active users, 250 total on the platform. I think right now the #1 priority is to really slot into people's workflows. It's to kind of understand the triggers that they use within Slack and to really slot into that workflow to deliver insights and to deliver manager coaching in the best way possible. And we know the reason this is such a high priority is because we know that this is a daily problem that they face. And we eventually want to build the product to be able to match that as well.
And to add on to that, to answer your second question about how would the funding help us, I think the key hires we need to make are around, like, Andrew has amazing visual design experience and both of us are good at front end and back end engineering respectively. Kareen's great at marketing, but what we think we're lacking right now is the experience design and slotting into like the actual thing of slotting into workflow and identifying this is how the features that we build around it, because we have a huge feature backlog and a roadmap that we just need help prioritizing. And I think that's the one place where we'll make a key hire. We actually brought on a new advisor today that's really going to help us with the experience design bit, but having a core team member will be really helpful for that.
Great, thanks. Next question is from Jed.
Hi, thanks. I just want to better understand something about the networking effect or potential network effect. Can you collect data from Slack and then use the profile you're building on that person across other platforms? Or can you only use it on Slack?
100%. So we don't actually store any messages, but we store the insights that we generate from the messages. So we have this information about how people are using Slack and communicating in a virtual environment and map that to who they are and what their personality is along something called the 5-factor model. And so that is the unique sort of data that we have. And we already have like 450 to 500 people on the platform currently. Once we start hitting like 1,000, we can actually start generating our own insights and just literally crank out research and new insights about how people are interacting in a virtual environment and what drives that interaction. So being able to apply that to email, LinkedIn, whatever other tools you're using to communicate is the grand vision.
I think the degree to which you can prove that works on other platforms sooner will make people look at you more as a big company opportunity and not a feature of Slack.
That's really good feedback.
Last question from Kevin.
Hey, so I kind of have a two-part question, right? So my first question is, how do you see yourselves differentiating in a already very crowded market, right? Yes, it's very timely, and as we've seen, many companies have come into the purview for remote work over the last 3 or 4 months. And Tandem, honestly, is an outlier of that. This is my second part of that question is, it actually sounds like the greater goal is for you to transition into kind of like HR tech kind of solution, right? You mentioned the 5-factor model, right? Is your team set up for that, right? Are you the best people to be thinking about how you manage internal talent and that sort of stuff, right? I'd love to hear more on those topics.
Yeah, absolutely. So Andrew, do you want to talk a little bit about the defensibility of the tech?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, regarding defensibility, I think a lot of it comes from data, in the sense that, like, as Sid has kind of mentioned before, we have, a lot of other companies have built up these, these analytics platforms. For example, I think a company called Compass has created like network graphs within Slack, but there's not many companies that can take that data and actually make it actionable, in the sense that, like, we have the advantage in that we can take this data that we have on people's personalities, we can cross-reference that with like data on how they're using Slack in general and everything like that. And we can say, for example, maybe people that are higher in this specific trait uses Slack like in this different way. So there's just a new level of actionability there. Sid?
Yeah, and so to add on to that, so that's on the actual like IP and tech portion. The second thing is what I don't think anybody else gets, and what the niche that we've kind of been started to dominate over the past couple of months is the piece about empathy and better relationships and building culture in a remote environment. And actually, like, we've been speaking at a ton of these conferences because of the work that we've done. We've been invited to speak and be the sort of experts, if you will. I know we're 19, 20 years old, but this space is so new that we've kind of become the people that have been dominating the remote work empathy section. And that's where I think that's the niche we want to establish, where all these other tools are trying to give you data and make things faster and better. And we want to sort of improve the culture and communication, increase the psychological safety of remote teams, because that's what in the end drives retention and productivity in a remote setting. And to answer your third question about why are we the right people to do this? Well, I've actually had a startup fail because of failed remote communication in the past. Kareen, our other co-founders, worked remotely for a year. Andrew's worked remotely too. And with that experience plus the advisors that we have, Darren's the head of remote at GitLab. He's the #1 remote work expert in the world. I think that positions us really well to be able to understand the problems of remote specific and focusing on culture building and engagement in a remote setting. And that's sort of the grand vision.
Thank you. That concludes Sike Insights pitch. We're going to move on to Digiventures.
Awesome, thank you. Well, evening everyone, and I'm going to tell you now how in Digiventures we're disrupting fintech customer acquisition in Latin. So we are democratizing access to financial services in Latin by bridging underbanked consumers and financial institutions, thus consolidating a fragmented market. 60% of Latin American population has limited access to financial services. Why is this happening? On one side, consumers, they just simply lack financial education. And there's not such a thing as a standardized credit score. In fact, people believe in Latin America that when they are rejected from a bank, it's because they're in a blacklist. They do not get the concept of a credit score. And on the other side, financial institutions, they only have this old legacy technology, and they cannot deliver simple digital solutions. And again, and on top of that, they're actually facing a really high customer acquisition cost. So this ends up in a market that is completely fragmented and is full of distrust on both sides. But how big is this opportunity? Latin American financial institutions spend around $20 billion a year in customer acquisition. This calculation comes from 150 million financial contracts that are being signed a year, and at an average customer acquisition cost of $150. So how are we going to solve this? By simply providing education to users and helping financial institutions to grow. How? With a free financial education portal that does financial health follow-up and offers consumers low-cost digital services, and a SaaS platform for the financial institutions, providing them with qualified leads, the technology to automate the KYC process, and omni-channel retargeting. So how this solution actually is in real life? This one-stop shop platform that bridges both sides creates a true end-to-end ecosystem. So an average user is gonna come to our platform, get free financial education, using some self-declared information as well as public available information. We are gonna create a credit profile for that user. We're gonna understand to which cluster that user actually belongs to, and we're gonna offer them relevant offers that actually are gonna maximize their availability to finally acquire that financial service. If this user actually clicks in one of those offers that we are offering them, it goes to our onboarding platform that completely digitalizes the process of KYC, of e-signature, so thus converting that lead into a real financial service contract that is being signed. But after that, we finish this loop by following up on that user, understanding how their experience was, and keep on communicating them and informing them how they are doing on their financial health and how they can even improve it. So what have we done up to now? For the past 6 months, we have been growing at 30% in daily users, reaching now 4,300 daily users, getting a 70% conversion rate and a 30% user recurrence. And on the other side, with financial institutions, the ones that are really paying for the party, we have 32 financial institutions that are paying for our platform. We have 30,000 monthly recurrent revenues only on our SaaS platform. Thus, we are profitable. And for us, every single lead that we acquire, we do it at $10. That means a financial service contract that is being signed, and we estimate a $50 lifetime value for that user that was being acquired. So who else is in the market? Basically, no one is doing this complete loop. What we see is a lot of blogs bringing financial education, but that's not enough. We see a lot of competitors that do comparison sites, but they just are missing the onboarding part and actually closing that loop. That information that we collect, that data and the traceability of that data, the completed loop, it's actually our secret sauce. So why are we the right team to execute this? Both Hernan, Nahuel, and me, we combine more than 25 years working in the industry, either with McKinsey working with large financial institutions, or either at Mercado Libre, Mercado Pago, actually where we met, building and launching products all around the world. So we are raising $2 million by the end of the year in order to expand to Mexico, acquire more customers, and further develop our product. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Judges, if you would like to ask a question, please put down your name. Oh, first question from Jazz.
How are you acquiring your customers? What kind of either SEO or other sort of tools are you utilizing to acquire customers? And how is that going to be scalable for you as you grow and hope to achieve your plans?
Excellent question. If we see a typical customer journey, what we provide the customers is the financial education. Basically, people come to our portal and we leverage our customer acquisition strategy using relevant content information. That is the only way for this to be scalable. If not, CAC is going to eventually kill you. So what we do is as I said before, we create a credit profile for those persons and we follow up on them, telling them how to improve their financial health.
Brandon?
Hey, great presentation. What's the longer term vision for consumer financial health or financial education in Latin America? Is there something like a credit score that is on the horizon, or is there some kind of next step that you're expecting consumers to take after they've been through your process?
So I think that the first thing that is super important to understand in this is that the concept of having a credit score in the US is super common, is super intuitive to people here. But as I said before, in Latin America, they have no idea what a credit score is. And as the example that I provided, a lot of people that when they apply for a credit card or for a loan and get rejected, they think, oh, that's because I'm in a blacklist and I'm never gonna get away from a blacklist. So to actually get into a credit score that actually every people understand, there are a lot of steps that we need to keep on building on that before we go to that. In the short run, what we're trying to do is communicate in a transparent way to the user this idea of a credit profile. And yeah, in the long term, yeah, be transparent regarding the credit score.
I think we have another question from Victoria.
Oh, great presentation. So how are you navigating the regulatory landscape with regards to the proprietary personal information acquired through KYC? Are you allowed to store it? Are you allowed to sell it? And they're different at each international markets, right?
Yep. That depends, of course, in the market, but basically what you are doing is you're collecting different information in each single step. And what is the tightest regulation actually becomes when that user becomes a client in a bank, and mostly it's about personal information regarding to financial things and those kind of things. The self-declared information that we get here is not necessarily related to income, but actually to preferences and the things that customers are actually looking for. And then we're using public available information, like information from central bank of each country that actually every single user has. The central bank in every single country, they know how much every single user owes to the financial markets as a whole. And also you can get information like from public pension funds, because most pension funds in Latin America are public, are from the state. And the information that we collect here, this onboarding platform is a white level platform, and the information that we collect here goes and is stored in the bank, and that's a different thing. That's a different story.
All right. I think that's all for the Digiventure teams. Thank you for your presentation. We're gonna move on to the Miravel team.
Cool. All right. Hey guys, my name is Randall Shapiro.
I'm Riley Kuffner.
And we're excited today to tell you about our company, Miravel.
Human beings have always had a relationship with food. We've been growing it for thousands of years. However, today we've become disconnected where our food comes from. As a result, our system is broken. The core issue here is that food is grown really far away. Farmers are using harmful chemicals for preservation. There's massive amounts of waste, and the whole system is simply unsustainable.
Yeah, these problems manifest in real ways in our society. Today, 41 million Americans suffer from food insecurity. That's 12% of our entire population. Additionally, in the US, we're still one of the most unhealthy countries in the entire world. Plus, we're harming our environment. 1/3 of all human-caused greenhouse gas emissions come from our food system, but it doesn't need to be this way.
Remember, this is all because food is grown really far away. But what if instead it just grew everywhere in our everyday environment?
We'd like to present to you the Simple Garden.
It's designed to be a beautiful addition to any wall, and better yet, this device grows food completely automatically for you with built-in LED grow lights and timed watering. All you have to do as a user is place in proprietary seed squares that we send you each month, fill it with water, and sit back to watch your plants grow. In about 3 to 4 weeks, you'll have vibrant lettuce and kale for salads, herbs like rosemary for cooking, mint for your mojitos, even microgreens for flavor. It's something that's so easy the whole family can get behind it, and we've also designed it to be modular, such that it can tile together to cover any kind of wall surface for commercial B2B applications.
So like Riley said, it's all kind of starts with the proprietary seed squares we offer our customers. We put seeds and nutrients that are plant specific so that the plants can grow the best they possibly can within the device. The material itself is also completely soilless and it's fully compostable. So for the use case, you would get it in the mail, just put it in the system, watch your plants come to life, and you can compost these after use. Now this whole concept, it sounds pretty cool, right? Well, it's actually a real thing. We got to launch our product and brand at CES this year, and we're called one of the top 5 coolest startups on the show floor by Entrepreneur Magazine. It was really cool, and it was an honor to get that recognition. But what was even cooler was getting to talk to real people. We saw how they interacted with the device, and we were able to quantify demand for the first time on a public stage. And what we saw was overwhelming.
Yeah, we've now talked to over 1,000 people.
Hey, Randall, sorry, your screen is freezing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, let me go back a little bit. Sorry about this. Are you able to see it now?
Yeah, we can see it.
Okay, sorry about that. Where did we lose you?
We were on the cover for a while.
Oh my gosh. Okay. I mean, would you like us to restart? What would you like us to do?
Why not just restart? Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. You're gonna get the same spiel twice. So nice. We do it twice. All right. Yeah. Let me try to make this full screen. If it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. No, it looks like, yeah, it's pausing.
Is it the full screen?
Yeah, I think so. I'll just keep it like this. Hopefully you guys can see. Cool. Well, I'll let Riley tell you about the food problem once again.
Yeah, sounds good, guys. So what we were talking about is that humans have always had a relationship with food. We've been growing it for thousands of years. However, today we become disconnected. And so the system's broken. Food's grown really far away. People are using harmful chemicals. It's just unsustainable.
So we kind of wanted to show a little bit about the product. Riley told you a little bit about it, but here are some images of really what the product looks like in the wild. And so it's designed to look really beautiful in your home. It's easy to hang up, and it works so simply with automatic lighting and watering. And this is that interpretation of what it could look like in a B2B forum. I told you a bit about the seed squares. So just for reference, they're pesticide-free, organic seeds, no mess, and they're fully compostable. And this is just a little bit of what CES was for us. It was really a great experience. It was a ton of fun. We had a total blast, and we got to quantify the demand. And I'll let Riley tell you a bit about that.
Yeah, so we've now talked to 1,000 people around the United States, and 78% of them have been interested in our product, even more now because of the coronavirus pandemic. People are stuck at home looking for ways to garden, grow their own food, and this also enabled us to learn who our customer really is. What we identified is that it's young, urban professionals, a little bit more women than men, that care about health and sustainability. We have 50 of these types of individuals that are already enrolled in a beta test that we're going to run this summer, and 4 major retailers have reached out to us cold wanting to test the product. That includes Best Buy and also Urban Outfitters. We also have 10 leads for commercial projects. So these are places like restaurants, office spaces, apartments that actually want to build the device into their walls.
Yeah, and so to tell you really quick about the competitive landscape, there's some consumer products in the market as well as B2B products. On the consumer side, devices are oftentimes made of cheap materials, and they're more like science projects in your home than actual, art pieces or appliances. On the B2B side, units grow a lot more effectively, but they're really big and they're incredibly expensive. So our system is going to be able to produce a comparable amount of yield for about half the cost. And we're going to start selling our units, the tiles, at $395 originally, and for about $15 to $20 on the seed square. Over time, we want to scale down the unit cost dramatically, make our money on the seed squares, and provide people a product service experience that they absolutely love to use.
Yeah, we're the right team to bring this to market. Randall has the business experience and an eye for design as well as customer excellence. I'm an engineer and a chemist that's been working with hydroponics and other sustainable technologies for over 5 years. Tanya's reached millions of fans through her former platform at Hard Rock, and Manuel Camarena used to run the global supply chain and manufacturing for Beats by Dre. So he's an expert in mass manufacturing and is ready to scale the product.
We've also been recognized all over the state of California for our work thus far on the Simple Garden, and have built up a great advisory network ranging from legal professionals to business strategists and even horticulturists to help us with the plant side. We also have partnered with real professional service firms who have taken equity in our company to try to help us see the vision through. And so they are really great partners that have provided us advice and guidance along the way as well.
Yeah, we think the market potential for this is huge because we can be growing food nearly anywhere. On the right-hand side, we have some numbers for context on dollars spent for fresh fruits and vegetables, home gardening, and the commercial indoor farming market. On the left is ground up market sizing for the consumer market alone, and we think it could be as large as $4.7 billion. This is also a really hot space. Plenty recently acquired Bright Agritech and added it to part of their core technology they're growing all their plants out of. Miele, an appliance manufacturer, acquired Agrilution just back in December, and that was their entrance into the indoor farming market. We think that other types of appliance manufacturers like GE and LG are going to be looking to do the same sort of thing, and there could be a potential bidding war for market-leading tech.
So quickly where we are as a company, we've raised $280,000 to date and have helped us satisfy all sorts of industrial design in the product so that it's ready to go to market. We're raising $70,000 that is going to go directly into customer trials. So getting these units into people's homes who have purchased and put down deposits in order to learn about the experience, continue to grow plants at a high level, and to scale the company. We're planning to do a seed raise in the fall. And so this is kind of like the bridge financing that we're going to need in order to get us to that raise and satisfy on a much larger scale. So thanks so much for sticking with us amid all technical difficulties, and we're happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions for them? Brandon?
Yeah, great rolling with the punches there with the presentation, guys. Curious to know, you're going into this trial over the summer. What are the metrics that you're going to be looking at to measure success for the trial as you go into getting into the market in the fall?
Yeah, so we've done, some testing about, we do a ton of plant testing actually right here in this apartment. We've got an extra room that we have, I think we have 300 plants or something, or?
Yeah, 320 now.
320 that we grow, we collect data on. So the main thing that we're looking to see from these results and these tests is how the plants are doing in unpredictable environments in anybody's homes. And so that's the main thing that we're really looking for. And there's all sorts of data points that we look at, whether it be the plant health based on leaf coloration or size, the rate of growth, all sorts of things like that.
Also the customer touch points with the device itself. Any kind of user interface we're studying in intently on. We've already crafted like a beta test program with questions we're going to ask. And finally, net promoter score, which is something that we really want to understand, because we want to build in a referral model to our business such that, if you have this up on your wall and a friend comes over and thinks it's super cool, you can say, hey, you can go buy one of these and, tell them that I referred you, and they'll get a discount, and this individual that referred them gets free seed squares. And so that net promoter score is going to be a great indicator as to the efficacy of that.
Yeah, we've actually seen a lot of people request that, especially in the last couple of weeks. Like we launched our new website in the last couple of weeks, Miravel.com, if you want to go take a look. And people have been really reaching out like, when can I get one of these things? Because they're going crazy in their homes. The grocery stores are a mess. And so we're trying to get these out in people's hands as soon as possible.
I think Daniel has a question.
What's the value you're providing to the enterprise?
Sure, yeah. So these systems itself can produce about a pound roughly of produce per month. And so the array that you see right here is a comparable yield quantity to a farm shelf, for example, which retails at $7,500. So this array, while it looks beautiful in any sort of enterprise environment, can produce a substantial amount of food. And this is for people to eat and enjoy, understand the transparency, the benefits of growing your own food rather than having it sourced from major distributors. We believe at the core that the future of agriculture is a decentralized model, is one where it's not grown in one place, it's grown in everyone's environment. We're choosing
I understand that, but that sounds
Okay.
more like a consumer benefit versus an enterprise benefit. Most of them have catered lunches coming into the office and they're not cooking for their employees unless they're Google. So maybe the better question is, what type of enterprise are you thinking of selling into?
Yeah. So for example, Microsoft has already put units similar to this in some of their offices. So there are some companies interested in that. However, this also plays really well in restaurants. We have 4 restaurants right now that have expressed interest in putting it inside. And especially after the coronavirus is over, we think that restaurants are going to start looking at ways to differentiate and really create that experience to be more intimate. So that it's straight wall to table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other value prop I would say is like, this could theoretically replace any other sort of green wall. So any sort of, biophilic design, bringing nature into an environment to help plants make people feel better. I mean, this is an alternative that actually has utility as opposed to just looking nice like some ivy on the wall. So that's part of the logic as well.
All right. We actually only have time for one more question, but I see a couple more people. I guess we'll take Jess. Would you like to ask?
I'll be quick. I'm loving the wall to table phrasing there, so that's wonderful. But what's the top SKU? I'm just trying to understand, like, what's the product that you've seen that has the most success and consumer enthusiasm, whether it's herbs like basil, et cetera, or actual produce. I'd just be curious to know.
Yeah, so we're finding that people are really interested in different herbs, so like basil, those supplementary things. Lettuces, so like produce that can be consumed in higher quantities to provide more nutrition, is certainly second to herbs. And the thing that we think customers don't really understand the utility of quite yet, but is going to be a huge hit, is microgreens. You can grow a substantial amount of microgreens in these systems, and they taste amazing. They're super fresh, and they're very, very nutritious. So I think what we plan to do is actually put a plant pad of microgreens in everybody's unit to start. So even if they don't know about microgreens, they can try it out basically on the house and see the benefits that you can get from growing microgreens, because they're really, really great. And we think our customers are going to love them.
All right. Sorry, we are running out of time. Apologize to Allison and Kevin. We're gonna move on to the next one.
Cool. Really quick, I wanted to add one other thing. One of the things we're planning on doing in the future is actually supporting different kind of fruits and flowering plants. So little baby ripe tomatoes, strawberries, for example, grow very well hydroponically. So those are a couple areas I didn't mention that we're going to get into, but we're not going to start with right away.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Cool. Appreciate it.
All right. Next thing is SuperPetfoods.
At SuperPetfoods, we believe that saving the world was never so nutritious. Let me introduce you to the black soldier fly. The larvae of this insect is one of nature's greatest sources of protein, as it offers complete nutrition, having higher protein, fiber, iron, and calcium levels than beef, chicken, or fish. It is extremely efficient to produce. In 1 acre of land, it produces 2,500 times more protein than beef by only requiring 4% of the water. It is hypoallergenic, and the coolest thing of all, it feeds on organic waste, contributing to a circular economy. What does this have to do with pets? We conducted more than 400 interviews and surveys to pet owners, and we found out that millennials are the largest pet owner segment. 75% of them have a pet, and they really care for their pets. In fact, clean nutrition is their utmost priority and need. However, the most interesting insight is that 84% of them would pay more if only their pet food was sustainable. How much? 19%. However, the industry is not addressing this need. Only 21% of dog food formulas in the US are healthy. They have meat meals, fillers, additives, and natural flavors. And major players are coming up with solutions that rely on formulations that are very high in protein and very rich in meat, but traditional meat. We believe that the industry is not connecting the dots and that there's an unserved demand for sustainable pet food. At SuperPetfoods, we produce insect-based dehydrated pet food that offers a complete diet, the opportunity to make part of a circular economy at prices that are below our direct competitors. Why dehydrated? Kibble is the predominant form of food. Dehydrated is also dry, offering the same convenience while being more nutritious and tasty. You just need to add water, stir, and serve. Nutrition is on us, and love is on you. We believe that the timing is right for our product. 70% of people would consider feeding their pets insects. In the last month, 74 people signed up for a free sample. This positive attitude is in part because pet food mirrors trends in human food, an industry that is seeing a surge in offers around alternative and sustainable protein. But the most important thing, what do dogs think about us? See it for yourself, they love it. That's our latest MVP trial. The opportunity for our market is very big because the US pet food market is not only large, but growing. It grew at annual rates of 8.5% in the last years, and it has a size of 32 billion. When you take the environmentally friendly pet owners, this is an addressable market of 13 billion. And when you narrow it down to the environmentally friendly high-income millennials, it's an obtainable market of $700 million in the US alone. We know that the industry is full of competitors. Just to be clear, we are competing in the segment of high-quality protein pet food, and we are leveraging the fact that these new trends that have emerged, that have given spaces to new types as dehydrated and raw, and new alternative proteins like insects and vegans. We compete alone in this category, and we will position ourselves as the alternative to kibbles. Our business model is set up to maintain a cost advantage. We're going to do the formulation in the US. In fact, this already happened. We hired a certified bird pet nutritionist, and we work very closely with them. We will source and manufacture in Colombia through a co-packer to leverage lower production costs and the free trade agreement between these two countries. And we will distribute our product in our own website and through specialty pet food stores, starting in the Bay Area. Our next milestone is to achieve 100 recurrent customers and make 44,000 in revenues. For that, we are making an ask of $35,000. And I want to tell you more about the driving force behind this idea. We are a truly diverse team of UC Berkeley female graduate students with a passion for animals and the environment. Hey. I come from a family that own a food manufacturing company for more than 20 years. We produce the fly in one of our farms. I'm a Berkeley Haas MBA student. Gina Myers, she's an achiever. She is about to finish her master's in bioengineer, and she's a classically trained chef. Dogs are very lucky to have a chef from the Culinary Institute of America cooking for them. And Thais Esteves, she's extremely smart. She was in BCG for more than 5 years. She's a fellow Hassing, and she focused on finance and strategy. We have a trusted team of advisors. Cora is Gina's German Shepherd, very picky dog in charge of quality assurance. Judy Hoppelin, our marketing professors, assisting us with brand strategy. John Mathesen, a serial entrepreneur in the CPG industry with a focus on sustainable products. So I hope you can join me unleashing a product that proves that loving pets on the planet isn't mutually exclusive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mar. Does any judge have any questions for them? One from Alan.
Hey, nice job. I was curious about how you would characterize the long-term data around the safety of this type of food for your pets.
Gina can take that question.
Yeah, I'll take that question. That has to do with the regulatory and also the research around this insect. And luckily, there's about 3 decades of scientific research backing the safety of this insect for feed in chicken and salmonoid diets. It's also currently under review for certification for pets, and that actually requires a lot of data. So we feel very confident that this is a safe insect to feed for long term as a complete diet for pets.
Thanks.
Thanks. Is there any other question? Oh, Jess.
That was terrific. I was curious about, as you think about the efficacy or the measurement of sort of quality, or whether it's pet hair or whatever metrics you think about, how does it compare to raw? Raw is definitely the most on-trend type of product right now, as you sell on Chewy's and others. And as you think about a millennial consumer kind of going in and choosing their product versus yours, how do you think about the way to kind of compare how their pet will feel or look as compared to raw, aside from the health benefits you talked about?
I can actually take that one too, Mar. Luckily, these insects have really superior nutrition for pets. And one of the main metrics people look for is the quality of a pet's coat. And if their dog's coat is very shiny and rich in color, that's a sign that they're being fed properly. And these insects are very rich in the essential fats and fatty acids that are required to make a dog's coat look really nice. They're also extremely high in protein, which helps build muscle, and that will make their dogs look and feel great as well.
And I have something else to add on that regard. Raw has a problem, and is that it's a little bit cumbersome to manage because it doesn't offer a long shelf life. You need to have a freezer, and it's also extremely expensive. So it doesn't, for some people, it's not an alternative. And that's why dehydrated, it's so good, because it's still as convenient as kibble because it's dry. You add water, which makes it very pleasant for the dog as well to have it, but it's never as expensive as the raw.
Thank you. Any other questions for the team? All right, I think we are gonna move on. Thank you. Thanks to SuperPetFood team for answering and pitching. Thank you. We're gonna move on to COBA.
All right, hello everyone. My name is Catherine and I'm a co-founder of COBA, the coffee bar. So in today's busy day and age, people are constantly racing against the clock, but it always seems like we never have enough time to finish everything we need to do. And this means a lot of late nights and tired mornings, and coffee has become almost a source of life for many, and it's deeply ingrained in our culture. In fact, over 50% of all adult Americans drink coffee every day. But getting a cup of coffee can be time-consuming in of itself. We don't always have time to brew our own coffee or leave our desk to go and grab one. And that's why we created COBA, the coffee bar. COBA is coffee turned into chocolate form, and each bar contains 100 milligrams of caffeine, which is a little more than your average cup of coffee. COBA is meant to be a more convenient and simple form of coffee for busy people. It's perfect for that 2 p.m. slump when you need a little boost, or when you're running between meetings all day. And after 3 years, hundreds of iterations, and our special trade secret, we've made sure that you can still enjoy the rich notes of coffee in every bite. So who is the COBA customer? Well, COBA is made to help those looking to, as we like to say, get shit done by keeping people energized and increasing productivity. But when it comes to our go-to-market strategy, we wanted to model ours after RX Bar. RX Bar found its success by first targeting and saturating a very niche customer segment, the CrossFit community, and they were able to grow a cult following from there. Now, we've tested multiple customer segments, but when we looked at the data, we found that college students were our biggest customer. Not only that, but the college student is the customer that we understand the best and have the most connections to. Every time we've hosted a fundraiser on campus, we've always sold out. And we've then used the success from these fundraisers as data points to convince local retailers to carry our bars. And they've all reordered. There's a huge market out there for us. The US coffee market is a $48 billion market, and 54% of that is made of millennials. Of these millennials, 55% of them say convenience is the most important purchasing decision factor. And COBA is the perfect product for that target market, as we're providing a more convenient alternative to coffee. We're ready to take on this market. We're looking to take our success at Berkeley and replicate it at other UC schools and college towns through our connections. We also recently secured a new co-packer, so we'll be able to produce at a much faster rate. We've also had a lot of momentum in the last few months. We recently hosted a COVID-19 giveaway for all those negatively impacted. This was inspired by our co-founder, Taiki, who unfortunately lost his job because of COVID, and he wanted to do something nice for those who had as well. And surprisingly, it actually generated quite a bit of buzz, and we were able to make a profit from the campaign with a return on investment of 16%. Based on this, we'd like to test similar social media campaigns to help get our name out there more. Our team is eager and ready to make COBA a success. The three of us co-founders are all Berkeley graduates who have real-world experience in each of our roles. My name is Catherine, and I'm the CMO of COBA. I currently work in creative marketing on the user acquisition side. Peter, our CEO, has 7 years of experience in the coffee business. He also has work experience in accounting and finance. And Taiki, our COO, has operations experience as he managed the supply chain of 19 boba stores with Boba Guys. The rest of our team are current students at Berkeley, and they play a huge role in helping us carry out all of our initiatives, and they also bring insights into the wants and needs of college students. So we're looking to raise about $100,000 this year, and we've already secured about half of this, and we're looking to secure the rest. So 50% of this would go towards new distribution channels. We want to replicate our Berkeley strategy at other college campuses to gather enough data to eventually enter larger chain retailers. 30% would go to customer acquisition. So given the success of the COVID-19 campaign, we want to experiment with more social media giveaway campaigns to get more exposure and acquire new customers. We'd also like to start running tests with Facebook ads. And then lastly, 20% would go to any operations and logistics costs. So we're really excited for the future. People love COBA, and we think that you will too. Let us know if you would like a sample, and we would happily ship you some. Thank you, and let us know if you have any questions.
Thank you, Catherine. Would anyone like to ask a question? Jed?
Hi, I think that's a really cool idea, and you guys have done a great job with the packaging and getting this thing started. Talk to me more about the expanded distribution and how to really scale this thing up before others try to copy it. What are you going to do to, what's the ideal store for you or ideal way to get distributed other than stores?
Yeah,
so hey Jed, my name is Peter. Hey Jed, my name is Peter. I'll help answer some of these qualitative and expanding questions. So what we found out was when we go into CPGs, we really want to target a very specific market to try to grow that cult following. And what we found out was when we target college campuses, that is the highest density of students in a certain geographic area. So strategically, we would be able to get the most amount of exposure in the smallest amount of space. And so what we want to do after that is really model the success we had at Berkeley, where we took the data from the campus sales and approached local retailers. And the aggregate of these local retailers is what we think is going to get a big box or the big distributor's attention. And I think that's where we go, where we get to scale. And in terms of answering the question of how do you protect this before how other people penetrate or other people start doing this, we've really done our homework with coffee. I've been in the coffee business for about 7 years, and we went as far as making our own roaster and actually going down to Ecuador and sourcing our own coffee. And it took hundreds of iterations for us to get to where we think we have a trade secret where other competitors aren't going to be able to compete with us, because we have a proprietary blend that actually retains a lot of the coffee that doesn't go stale, that keeps the coffee from going stale. So in that sense, we have some barriers to quality. And I think, I think with CPGs, there's really two big areas. What the packaging looks like and what it tastes like. So in terms of what it tastes like, I think we've secured that with the number of sales we've had and the growth we've had and the reorders we've had. But in terms of in terms of packaging wise and being competitive with everyone else, I think we wanted to make one of our mentors is the CEO of Ocho Candy, and he always told us that packaging is always growing and changing. So that's what we've changed our packaging to adapt to our audience. That might have, been an overkill to that question, but I wanted to address all the points that it could have brought up.
Thanks, Kevin.
Hey, thanks for the presentation. I've kind of 2 questions here. So the first question is, in consumer goods, right, it's a very crowded space, and multiple brands have gone ahead and tried to create coffee bars and coffee chocolates. What's the ideal customer profile, right? You know, when you think about it, as you build a brand around this, right? What does that person look like, and how do you go about targeting more of those people and get them to pay, right? And then my second question actually is more on the operation side. So with COVID, you know, a lot of companies have had supply chain issues, right? Have you seen similar sorts of issues with your own suppliers and co-packers? And how do you think about creating a business where things like that will not be affected with, you know, future versions of COVID, etc.?
Yeah, excellent question. Thank you, Kevin. So the first part of the question with the profile, we targeted students, and the way we've done that is we've just looked at our sale data, and we found out that a campus organization ordering from us at wholesale for a fundraiser was for one fundraiser, which is about 600 bars, was more than the aggregate of all the retailers we had combined. So in terms of distribution and getting it out there to the students, we've leveraged a lot of campuses that are trying to do fundraisers where they buy from us wholesale and they sell retail. And so for that profile of that student, we really found that people who, the student market is the best because this is when they're transitioning to start drinking coffee and they're starting to try to take energy supplements and things like that. And we found that coffee chocolate is a very easy way for people to understand a caffeine buzz or something alternative to like a black coffee. So that's where we thought, that's where we are targeting students to help to grab that market when they are transitioning to consuming coffee. In terms of co-packers with this COVID-19 issue, you know, we really started from actually molding all these bars ourselves. Our whole team would go in the kitchen and be able to be molding bars and doing that ourselves. And then we transitioned to growing a co-packer. Maybe Taiki can speak more on our co-packer route.
Yeah, so with our co-packer, I've been in contact with them since March, and they've yet to close their doors, and they've always, you know, kept their doors open. So we don't see any issues there. That's for supply chain. You know, we have really simple ingredients, nothing that's hard to come by. Coffee, white chocolate, cocoa butter, like those ingredients are never going to go out of stock in this environment, even in the COVID pandemic. So supply chain wise, we have had no issues there. And using my experience at operations for a food startup, food company, I'll make sure that there's no issues with running out of product or supply chain.
Cool, thank you all.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin.
All right, thanks, the COBA team. We're gonna move forward with the Newmen.
Hi, everybody. I'm John Malazanis, and we're Newmen. We help the average rugged man look, feel, and smell amazing. First, I'd love if you met my Uncle Tim. Sorry, 1 second. I'd love if you met my Uncle Tim. As you can see, my Uncle Tim has an extremely unruly beard and a beautiful bald head. He's a hardworking man from Douglasville, Georgia. And I once asked him, how in the world do you keep control of that luscious beard? He then said to me, John, you do not understand. Your aunt drives me crazy about this. I have been growing this thing for 20 years, and I have still not found a product nor a brand that has taken care of me. I thought this was really, really interesting. And then I asked him, Uncle Tim, what about all the current solutions on the market? What about Harry's, Dollar Shave Club, Beard Brand, Gillette, etc.? He goes, John, you do not understand. They do not solve my problem. They only look at the clean-shaven man or the hipster bearded fellow. I'm not from Brooklyn. I'm not from San Francisco. I'm from Douglasville, Georgia, and these companies do not solve my problems. This was interesting. Are people like my Uncle Tim underserved? I thought this was extremely interesting, so I started doing some research. And I found that actually 27% of men, only 20% of men actually felt that their beauty subscription service was tailored to their needs. I found that Uncle Tim might not actually be alone. So what did I start doing? I started talking to hundreds and thousands of men similar to my Uncle Tim, and here are some of them. I found that there's a massive gap in the men's grooming need. There is a huge gap of average men with niche problems, just like my Uncle Tim, who do not have products and brands to help them solve their problem. There are tons of men, just like my Uncle Tim, who are being underserved. This is a huge set of people and a massive problem. We found that there's a huge problem, but there's most definitely a solution. Newmen is the solution. And here's the validation. We have validated this very quickly. In the last semifinal launch pitch day, we had 2,600 people in a closed Facebook group, but in only 12 days later, today, we have over 3,000 people in this group. We have grown our email list over 22,000 people, and we are growing social accounts as well. We even have 2,100 followers on our TikTok account. In addition, this is actually what we're selling to them. We are selling the first full suite of niche men's grooming products and tools and cosmetics to solve their needs. As you can see, we have our beard straightener, our back shaver, our skull shaver, and our cosmetic kits. In addition to these products, we are not only selling these products, but we are selling a community. We are selling the opportunity for these men to join something bigger in which they'll be able to experience something with men similar to them. These men all off social media really like what we're doing and look at these sales tractions to show how much they really liked us. In fact, our sales are growing exponentially. In the last 12 days alone, we have acquired over 1,400 customers and have done over $24,000 in revenue. We have really good profit margins and are growing every single day. This is a great time to be building a community and selling to people just like my Uncle Tim. These people are on social media now, shopping online like never before. These are the people in the country that were late to the social media game, and this is our opportunity to sell to them. These people are super easy to reach and cheaply as well. This is our go-to-market strategy. We want to double down on the niche beard care market. We see it as a great place to build community and to develop a loyal customer base in which we can surprise and delight them and encourage them to repurchase. Then we can easily move into the general men's grooming niche and other niches like scalp care, back care, and other men's niches as well. This is our business model. We first acquire our customer with tools that actually solve their unique problems, like our back shaver, our skull shaver, and our beard straightener. Then we bring value to them. We help them with our robust customer experience system that we have built to make our customers feel that they're part of something bigger and that they're part of a community. Lastly, we are able to cross-sell them to a variety of subscription products that have a longer lifetime value to them, like beard oil, like handcrafted soap, and like body wash. We are looking towards the future. Companies in this space are getting sold extremely well, and our investments are materializing extremely quickly. Over the last 2 years, Procter & Gamble and Unilever have done over 21 acquisitions in this space. We all know Dollar Shave Club. They sold for $1 billion. Look at Native, for example. They raised such a small amount of money, and only 2.5 years were able to sell for $100 million. This makes a fantastic return for their investors in only an extremely short amount of time. We have an experienced team that is ready to tackle this problem. As you can see, our head of product, Joe, has extreme experience in e-commerce as well as Amazon FBA. Jake Lorenko has an immense experience in growth hacking, content marketing, and website design. Connor Smith as well has a bunch of e-commerce experience as well, has worked in VC as well. Myself, I'm a past launch alumni as well as part of the second funded cohort at Skydeck. We are a team of growth hacker mindset individuals who are ready to tackle this problem, and we have built a solution for it. Right now, we are raising $300,000 as we feel we can utilize this money to make our business grow and become more valuable. This will get us to $1.4 million in annual recurring revenue just in that beard care niche alone. In addition, it will help us increase our organic reach through content like blogging and videos on YouTube. Lastly, we want to further develop our product line. We want a 2.0 and a 3.0 of all our products as we feel that this will help our customers solve their problems even better. Come join us on this Newmen movement. You won't be disappointed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The judges, if you have questions for them, feel free to put your name there. Brandon.
Hey, great job, guys. Here, let me see if I can do this. I don't have an Uncle Tim beard, but I kind of have a mini beard going on. So definitely understand some of the problems there. Wondering who created the products from your team And is there any IP here or anything that makes these products defensible given the amount of competition that's in the market?
Thank you for that question, Brandon. So we have very close relationships with all of our manufacturers, and we're currently working on and continually working on updates to our models of these beard combs and the variety of other products that we're selling. So while we don't have any intellectual property, quote unquote, we do have a unique product that we are selling to our customers.
And on top of that too, we're really close to this community. So we speak to them every single day. So we've had pinpointed a lot of their problems. So we're taking a lot of the products and iterating them to actually solve these pain points that other companies are not doing. So that really is good that we have that Facebook group and a really close connection with these customers.
Thanks. We have another question from Alan.
Hey, nice job. So similar type of question, but clearly there's a massive market here, but it's also notoriously competitive. And a lot of these incumbents, they have capital, scale, they have distribution, they even have R&D in-house. What specifically is keeping them from building a vertical for this audience that might not be, as catered to right now?
No, definitely. What we're actually seeing in the space is that rather than building a vertical, they're acquiring verticals in this space. So a lot of the bigger companies are looking to find smaller players that can easily acquire to integrate into their company. Like for example, Native was a great example of that, where a larger company had a beautiful product line of companies in different niches. So they brought Native in really quickly, and then they were able to kind of even expedite its growth by bringing it in.
Yeah, we think the big companies aren't the one that are innovating and doing the discovery in these specific verticals, but it's small players like us that are doing the discovery and then being acquired for high multiples in the years to come.
Great. And as a next step would be good to hear about the comparables, but we don't need to go into that now.
Definitely.
All right. I think we have time for one more question. If not, we can move on. Is there anyone else would like to ask a question? All right. We're gonna move on. Thank you, the Newmen team. We're gonna move on to dispatch goods.
So as most of you have come to realize, food delivery and takeout are on the rise now more than ever. And while that's wildly convenient for us as we're all sheltered in place, the consequence of that is that all of these food containers, or 90% of them, are ending up in landfills, oceans, and incinerators. So the waste consequence of this is enormous. I won't go. Okay, there. So the pandemic has exacerbated this problem in that people are seeing waste accumulation in their homes as they're ordering everything to their doorstep. However, what if we created new systems? What if we use this time to create a better tomorrow where instead of throwing everything away, we create a new circular economy? I'm Lindsay, and I'm the CEO of Dispatch Goods. I formerly ran Surfrider's Ocean Friendly Restaurants program, where I helped restaurants transition to more sustainable practices. And in that time, I discovered that there wasn't a truly sustainable option for restaurants that did a high volume of takeout and delivery. So I decided to go back to school to try to solve this problem. And I'm a Berkeley MBA student. There, I met Jessica, who's working on her PhD. She was similarly working in this space, and she had designed the first true certified zero waste academic building in the world, which is Chew Hall right here at Berkeley. Later, Maya joined the team. She comes from DoorDash and Caviar, and Andrew comes from Google and does our tech development. And together, we founded Dispatch Goods. Dispatch Goods provides weekly zero waste restaurant meals that you heat and eat at your home. So the shopping experience for this is somewhat like grocery shopping, where you can shop for meals from different restaurants. You put them in your cart, and then we will deliver on a weekly basis the items that you have selected. During the next delivery, this is all done in reusable containers. During the next delivery, we'll pick up your empties and then drop off the next week's orders. These are not hot meals. These are cold meals that you heat and eat, but they are from local restaurants. So restaurants really enjoy this option because of the fact that there's lower container costs for them. There's also an additional revenue stream in these particularly hard times. And we take a lower commission cost than a lower commission cut than food delivery apps because we don't do hot food on demand. We do optimized routes ordered in advance, so it's cheaper for us. And from a customer perspective, we're creating an option that they've been waiting for, which is essentially the convenience of food delivery without all of the waste. Additionally, right now, customers want to support their local restaurant so that when we get to the other side of this, they're still there. And so this provides them an opportunity to support local restaurants without waste creation. And we're cheaper than food delivery apps because it's only a once-a-week delivery rather than delivered every time you need food. So in this space currently, as cost and convenience go up, so does waste creation. Dispatch Goods disrupts this model in that you can finally get restaurant meals delivered to your door with zero waste. We actually launched in the takeout crowd in downtown San Francisco. Yelp employees were our test customers, and we put signs at our 3 restaurant partners and 1 food truck to alert Yelp employees about the program. And one after another inbound email came from other companies, from employees, from apartment complexes, from restaurants that wanted to participate in this program. Even food delivery apps and other meal pickup apps were wondering how they could partner with us to access these reusable containers. One of those companies was Zendesk, and we signed a $20,000 contract with them. That's part of the $80,000 contracts we've signed from those $20 of marketing signs. And as our takeout model with this was disrupted, we quickly pivoted to delivery, which is what we wanted to tackle all along. And so Zendesk is paying for pizza delivery for their employees on Tuesdays and Thursdays as an employee perk, but also as a way of supporting the restaurants near their office that they fear would be going out of business without their support. And so with this model, we are going to have a very targeted approach, kind of neighborhood by neighborhood. We've identified North Beach as our launch place. And just this week, we reached out to about 10 or 12 restaurants, and we have 6 on board already. So we're onboarding those restaurants next week. And after we tackle North Beach, then we'll expand to other San Francisco neighborhoods. And we already have a contract with Alameda in the East Bay. So that will start in the fall, and that's a $60,000 contract because their city is incredibly motivated to transition away from the wasteful practices that they're currently experiencing into a more reusable and circular future. So after we tackle the Bay Area, there's a few other markets that would be our next steps, and that's based on inbounds and other kind of when people go to our site and put in their zip code, we've identified these markets as strong markets for us. And so our revenue model is such that we collect a delivery fee from the consumer, and then we collect commission from the restaurant partners, similar to a food delivery app. And although we're not currently charging our restaurant partners for the containers, we plan to in the future, but we want to be at cost parity or lower than compostables. And all of this has been, we've talked to all of our restaurant partners about this, and they're on board. And then in the long term, we see an even larger opportunity, which is essentially after we've mapped out all of these logistics for the delivery and pickup and dishwashing on a large scale, then we can offer this service to other partners. In fact, DoorDash wants to partner, a chef wants to partner, and they want to partner now. And we're strategizing about when the right time to launch these pilots are, but they're already on board. And we can charge other companies, even grocery store items, to pick up and collect those items and sell them back, kind of how recycling has worked traditionally. And so the market size is enormous. It's growing. Food delivery is going to be a $250 billion industry by 2025. We randomly surveyed people at a restaurant in San Francisco, and 70% said that they would pay more for reusables. That's in line with what we constantly hear, which is the #1 reason people are ditching the meal kits and the meal delivery service is because of the waste creation. There's a giant hole in this market, and Dispatch Goods is filling it. Not only is there a large financial opportunity here, but the opportunity for impact is enormous in that if we can divert 10% of waste created for the food delivery and takeout industry, we would save nearly 2 billion single-use products annually in the US alone. Dispatch Goods has gotten a lot of attention. We've raised over $210,000 to date. And we've been featured in a lot of media, as well as the Wall Street Journal, and we are a Skydeck Cohort team, and we were the step winners of last year. And so COVID has disrupted the restaurant industry overnight. And while there could be a negative environmental consequence for this, Dispatch Goods gives an opportunity of a different future, a better future. We have the opportunity to create new systems. So when we get to the other side of this, it's not just the status quo. So we invite you to join Dispatch Goods in accelerating these reusable systems for a new and better future. Thank you.
Thank you, Lindsay. We have Daniel question from Daniel. Yeah.
Hi, Lindsay. I'm sorry if I missed this, but what are your engagement metrics?
So what do you mean? Like, how are we reaching our customers?
No. How many users are using you, and how many, like, what's the daily active?
Oh.
I understand the value to the restaurants and stuff, but I'm curious how many people are using you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, so previous to COVID, when we were in the takeout industry, we had between like 50 and 200 daily users.
Yeah.
And now that we've launched into delivery, we had it was a limited rollout with Zendesk, and on Tuesdays and Thursdays, about 30 people a day. And we've sold out for our North Beach launch, which is 50 people per day, granted Tuesdays and Thursdays. So that launches next week. And I should mention that we only have one restaurant. We haven't integrated with the 5 other restaurants. We're doing photo shoots with them. So with one restaurant only on our platform, we've already sold out for our first day.
Awesome, thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. And we have 2 more questions, one from Jed and one from Jess. Jed, do you want to go first?
Sure, thanks. Super cool. This would probably take more time, but I'm not totally clear on where you exist vis-a-vis the other delivery companies. Do you work with them? Are you competitive with them? And you know, the fees, the delivery fee, the container fee, is that just added to the consumer's bill when they order something? And do they order something always through you, or do they order it through the restaurant? And I'm just kind of a little confused how it all works together.
Sure. Yeah. So I guess I'll differentiate from where we are now and then the vision that we see for the future. So where we are now, we will be in a way competing with food delivery apps, but it's a different model in that it's pre-ordered, so that it's not a direct competition. In fact, that's why restaurants want to partner with us, because they have certain surge hours that we're now avoiding because we're picking up in the morning. And so as far as the commission and revenue and all of that, so no, it's not an add-on to the bill. In fact, the restaurants are adamant that the price is the same no matter where you're ordering from. So there's a $5 delivery fee, so that's an add-on, but the commission comes out of the actual basket. So if we sell $100 worth of meals, then we'll collect $10, which is why we're partnering with some more fine dining restaurants as well that have larger kind of ticket prices, so that it helps with our margins as well. If that makes sense. And then as far as
now I get it. Okay, thanks.
Okay, yeah, and then because of the fact that other companies want to partner with us, we are positioning ourselves as being a reusable company, and the platform is the vehicle to get this system intact. And we are open to partnerships beyond that, but they will have to make sense for us economically.
Thanks.
All right. I'm very sorry. We are running out of we're running out of time for you. I know there are 2 judges' questions. We couldn't get it. I'm sorry that we have to move on to the next team. For the 2 judges, feel free to directly message Lindsay for your questions or feedback, and she can incorporate that way. All right. Okay, moving on to the next team is SurfUp.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Natalie Moazes, and I'm a co-founder of SurfUp. What we call home is different for each of us, but for me, anywhere close to a beach and where the waves break is my home. I love to surf. The thrill of riding a wave always has me coming back, and I was always curious why more people didn't participate in this awesome sport. In 2016, the Surf Industry Manufacturing Association reported that 65 million Americans want to surf, but only 2 million actually consider themselves surfers. Why does such a large discrepancy exist? From our research, it all comes down to convenience. Whether you buy, maintain, and have to transport your own board, or you have to find a rental shop, wait in line, check out, and carry your board to the beach, these activities are often too much of a hassle, and that's why SurfUp exists. We've created an easier path to get those who want to surf off the beach and into the water. We provide spontaneity and fun, and we're there to capture the moment when the impulse to surf hits. We leverage the experience economy and sharing economy. It's a driving force in the market today, and we apply it to water sports in a way that our competition does not. Simply put, SurfUp is an integrated hardware and software solution. It's an automated station that pairs with a smartphone app. You download the app, scan a QR code, select your board, and catch the waves. It's as simple as that, and our early customers love it. And so do we. Because from our forecasting of just 13 one-hour-long rental transactions per surfable day in San Diego, each of our stations will generate $50,000 in revenue, with $26,000 being profit. But our early testing says these are conservative estimates. When we put our initial prototype station in Pacific Beach, we quickly emptied our station and we received positive feedback. In the pictures, one of our customers who was thrilled to share his experience on Instagram. Hotels want to host our stations as a new amenity for their guests or for the general public as they walk past the hotel. It took just 2 meetings to secure our first contract with 3 beachfront hotels in San Diego. It's a 10% revenue share agreement to the hotel, but this is just the tip of the iceberg. As of now, we have meetings lined up to negotiate contracts with even more beachfront locations. They all tell us the same thing. They are routinely asked where to rent surfboards and always have to send their guests elsewhere. SurfUp provides a new experience for their guests to enjoy, and this is revenue hotels know they can capture with our stations. Surfboards at the beach are the first step, but we are going beyond that. Next will be everywhere you can paddleboard, and together that'll accelerate us to a $16 billion market. We're starting with a highly fragmented $5 million surfboard market in San Diego that we will penetrate and dominate. But these are estimates based on current demand. Just like Bird and Lime drastically increased demand for scooter rentals, SurfUp will open the door for those interested in surfing and paddleboarding and drive new demand into the industry. Our core team has complementary professional backgrounds in sales, finance, and software development. Combined, our engineers have over 40 years of experience in mechanical and electrical engineering. And because we all completed our MBA together in the same cohort, we have been a cohesive entrepreneurial team for over 4 years. Our advisors are 2 serial entrepreneurs. They both successfully executed and ran similar businesses. Mark Bowles created a consumer self-serve kiosk that transformed the old cell phone recycling process into a multi-billion-dollar revenue company. And Derek Owen created a nationwide sports coverage brand that scaled to 10 million users last year. In 2019, we secured initial funding and signed our first contract. Later this summer, we'll release the app and deploy our first production stations. This will position us to generate valuable data and test marketing strategies. Our market testing has demonstrated demand. And with the app platform driving sales, our margins are large, they grow as we scale, and this makes SurfUp a very profitable venture. Our next focus is to validate that we can meet demand with our business model. With the first place prize, we can build 5 more stations, tune the SurfUp platform based on user experience, and implement our marketing strategy to optimize user adoption and retention. Doing this over the next 3 months will allow us to validate our go-to-market strategy and gather data from our partners and early adopters. The data collected will be the foundation of our future investment rounds. We envision a SurfUp station will be everywhere you go to enjoy water sports. In one scenario, we can be operating in 70 markets in the US by year 5, making annual revenues of $10 million and over $3 million in earnings. When we can return to our normal lives, the beach will be a place where people will flock to more than ever before. There's a big blue ocean out there with people wanting to get back to surfing all over the world. Our app and stations will be at their fingertips waiting for them. Thank you. And now I'll hand it over to our CEO, Chris Hissam, for Q&A.
Thanks, Natalie. All right, I also have Michal on the line. He's the CFO at SurfUp. I see that a few people have dropped in for questions, so take it away.
All right. Is there any questions from the judges? Jed?
Hi. I think this is a really cool idea. I do think the market is pretty small the way you're going after it. So I'm wondering if there's a way to expand the market. Are there a bunch of other things you could do this for? Boogie boards, other toys people can use on the beach, whatever it is, to make this a much bigger opportunity?
Yeah, and that's something we've thought about. We're currently focusing on the rentals and rentals alone. We're starting in San Diego. It's a $16 billion market that includes everything from rentals to gear. The majority of consumers in this market are people that are beginners or are interested in the sport. So if we can use this to eliminate the barriers that keep them away from the sport, we think we can expand this market beyond what it is today. Later on, as we expand, we'll be able to use the demand that we're seeing and what people are requesting to expand vertically or horizontally. But for now, we really want to stay focused on the rentals.
Yeah, one piece of advice, I wouldn't talk about the market as the surfing and paddle boarding market, because you're doing a piece of that, right? So you're not selling surfboards, et cetera. So I think I would do a more bottoms up way of presenting it, and I would show the other things we're going into so people can see how this market is going to expand over time, just purely on the rental income.
Yeah, and that's a really good point. So this slide in and of itself, we started with the $5 million, and the way that we did a bottom-up approach. The way that we got that number is we picked up the phone and we called 33 rental stores here in San Diego to estimate how much surfboard rentals alone generate in San Diego, extrapolated that into the United States. The 16 billion just shows us the total amount of purchasing that happens in these industries.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Thanks. Is there any other questions for the team? All right, thanks, SurfUp team. We're gonna move forward.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next team, it's also our last team of the pitching is CarpeMed.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Olusegun Bello, and I'm the CEO of CarpeMed. CarpeMed operates at the intersection of healthcare and travel. In 2015, my fiance and I went to Tanzania. We bought travel insurance as we always had. But 2 days into that trip, she was bitten by a mosquito with a deadly virus. We sought help using our travel insurance, but couldn't find any. We cut our trip short and went back to Germany. This began the odyssey of 5 doctors across 2 different continents. As soon as we landed in Germany, we went to a tropical doctor, still no answers. We went back home. 4 hours later, she said, "I feel like something is eating my brain." We rushed to the ER. 2 spinal taps later, because they lost the first, she was admitted to the hospital, diagnosed with meningitis. 3 weeks she stayed in the hospital, and this also led to 2 years of follow-on care and cost. What was frustrating was that we had travel insurance. The armor we thought we had did not protect us. Why? Because travel insurance is broken. It's easily confused with trip insurance or trip protection, which typically covers travel costs. There's no guarantee of provider quality. It's expensive, it's hard to use, and it takes 10 taps on your phone to find a doctor. Ultimately, there's no easy access to high quality travel medical care. But we fixed that. 2 taps to book an appointment. 1 tap to share medical records with travel companions and friends and family back home. And while there's a small subscription fee for CarpeMed, the big win is you only pay for medical care when you need it. We are not travel insurance, we are travel medical care. We offer subscription access to curated high quality care that speaks your language, telehealth and in person. Providers do not pay to be on our platform. They are selected and vetted via a combination of machine learning and human review. Patent pending safety companion mode allows shareable health records and documented medical advance directives in case you are not able to voice your preferences. CarpeMed allows travelers to travel confidently. It is important to note that our vision, our purpose, is to provide high quality travel medical care. We are not optimizing, repackaging, or a niche within a niche. We are creating a brand new solution, one that disrupts a broken multi-billion-dollar travel insurance and healthcare category. I will now pass it over to my Chief Product Officer, Kenneth Pang.
Thank you. Some key data to this very large and lucrative problem. In 2018, our core target of 93 million US international travelers, many of them savvy, 94% traveled with no coverage due to lack of insurance awareness or its high costs. But key to note is those same travelers spent 5.7 billion in medical care, whether they got poor or high quality care. So who are we for? Individuals through families, medical tourism, and study abroad. We'll start with relatively frequent travelers that go abroad 2 times or more per year, and related income levels that support frequency of travel. As we scale, we see inroads in B2B and B2E, providing turnkey and value-added partnerships. Our rollout plan is pilot launch in Q1 2021, proof of concept advocacy, and approximately 5 travel locations. We'll then push to a full launch in Q2 2021, partnerships and military network. If it's in our app, it'll be safe to travel per government and COVID curves, and our destination focus will be warm and popular destinations closer to home. Our initial pricing is $35 for one-time use, $80 for subscription. The only difference is the subscription saves your info. This is pricing innovation, high quality care before you pay out of pocket. Our conservative projections, year 1, 10,000 new users ranging to year 3 at 30,000 plus. Revenue growth from 300K to 2.9 million in year 3. CarpeMed does not have direct competition. However, our indirect competitors are siloed, have limited traction, and include cash and risk. Telehealth and in-person care are not mutually exclusive. Both are necessary during travel. We offer access to both. COVID fortunately has not affected our product roadmap, and we're glad there is government stimulus for travel and low ticket prices will help the restart.
Our team is actually our core demographic. We are diverse, international travelers passionate about medical access. I was born in Cambridge, England, and raised in Nigeria. Immigrated to the US as a child with my mother. I'm currently a Berkeley Haas MBA and previously a US Army combat veteran, Bronze Star recipient, and a New York licensed attorney. I have experience on the trading floor of Morgan Stanley, focused on foreign exchange, and the senior counsel at Wells Fargo. Kenneth Pang, my chief product officer, I've known for over a decade, and I was also his witness at his wedding. Kenneth started multiple startups, managed global strategy, marketing, and CRM for Fortune 50s, and is a California licensed attorney. Diego, our CTO, is headed to a second summer internship at Google if situations permit. We're currently seeking $750,000 in pre-seed funding. In 12 months' time, we expect to be fully launched, generating revenue and increasing market served.
What goes up must come down, and with travel, it's a certainty. 9/11 was a direct threat to travel, but we ended up traveling at new and exponential paces. Post-COVID, there are only going to be a few industries that can take advantage. After months of staying at home, travel will most definitely be one of them. We're innovating in a recession, ready to rise rather than playing industry catch-up. And these logos are just a reminder of what came from the 2008-2009 recession. Respectfully, the dollars reinforce our worthiness for investment. We're taking aim at $2 billion worth of the US travel market, $35 billion by 2025 and in 2025 for global insurance market. We're creating the next travel must-have and the next travel utility.
To recap, CarpeMed is travel medical care, high quality in your language. We are disrupting a multi-billion-dollar category. We are COVID-19 ready, and 2 things need to happen before people travel again. They must feel safe, and they must know that there's a safety net. That's where we come in. And finally, we have a very committed and passionate team looking to address these pain points and solve this issue. Thank you.
Thank you. First question from Jess.
Okay, so I think, first of all, I think I would be thoughtful that COVID-19 is going to be a dramatic disruption to the travel industry. I mean, it just is, and it's going to have a profound impact. I think your point at the very end of the presentation around how the travel industry is going to double down on an effort to make consumers feel safer in order to get them back on planes and back in hotels is a critical piece. You can help in that dynamic, but I would be very humble and thoughtful about how that is going to be a real challenge, and how positioning your business as a way to get consumers back on planes, back in hotels and traveling. My question really is a variant of what Jed was asking on a prior investment or opportunity, which is, are you creating a competing insurance solution to an Allianz or an Amex, or are you explicitly partnering with them and providing a rider and getting a portion of their amount in exchange for giving them a network of hospital providers in location?
Yeah, thanks for that question and appreciate the insight on that. I think if any of us are our frequent traveler miles customers, we're receiving all the emails saying how everyone's amping up the safety and security. So that's great, and we'll continue to use that. Our service is not travel insurance. We're travel medical care, which means to say that we're independent in the sense that we're going to make sure that we're bringing the highest quality providers regardless of their affiliation. You could use it with your existing travel insurance. If you've ever had it, takes sheets and sheets of search results to find the doctor, and you don't even know if they're high quality. On ours, it's compatible to an app like Tablet, which is like Zagat, but then the cream of the crop from Zagat gets put on an app like Tablet, and you only have 10 restaurants in the area that you are. So that's what we're providing, is easy access to high quality care, and then the medical out of pocket is on you just like it was before.
Thank you. Next question is from Danielle.
Thank you. And to piggyback off of that, if you are a separate service, how do you plan on getting in front of your target customers?
Oh, that's fantastic. I think we have two problems, and I think Olusheni has some as well. We have some on-campus ambassadors, which we have. Our launch initially was based around the IBD program at UC Berkeley, where they tap into the MBA students as well as the other UC campuses and other top 10 business schools. We wanted to start with an advocacy model, but then how to get in front of other folks is that the fact is the industry is broken, so we need to do a little bit of education. And then we need to have placement at the right times when people are booking. So we want to also partner with folks like Expedia or Booking.com to really bring that to the fore. The fact that you have 94% of people traveling without insurance, there's a lot of lack of awareness and a lot of chances missed to purchase.
Thank you.
All right. We have two more questions. One from Kevin. Kevin.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. In terms of go-to-market, right, after COVID, after we wrap up on COVID, what are your choice markets that you're going to go into? And how do you think about bringing physicians onto, or like medical centers onto your platform, right? I'm on your website right now, and basically looks like a Yelp for doctors locally. How do you think about bringing those people on? How do you target them? And then how do you do ranking, right? We've seen other doctor apps here in the States, and they've had kind of lukewarm outcomes in the marketplace, right? So how do you get the customer to trust your platform as a curator of high quality care in a new market that they've never been to?
Thank you for those questions. I'll start with the first one. The go-to-market strategy and the choice locations will be focused on places closer to the US. We know that the pandemic has hit Americans' pockets, and everyone is trying their best to survive. So our hypothesis is that people will be inclined to travel to places closer to the US, warmer, especially when we're thinking Q4 and Q1. Specifically, Cabo San Lucas, Mexico City, Dominican Republic, Tulum. Those are some of the areas close by that are rich target areas and also have a high travel volume. As places flatten their curves, that's where we will focus. It's a very dynamic situation, as we all know. So the focus will be on keeping abreast of all the changes that come on. Second question is with regards to physicians. I'll pass it over to my Chief Product Officer.
Sure, it's a combination between human review and machine learning. Ultimately, we are going to search and find these doctors and partner with certain locations. It really depends if the country's privatized healthcare or public. But ultimately, there's going to be a combination of human review and machine learning. From a reputation standpoint, I think it's about a product that works. It's for the cost that you pay to make sure that you have certainty that you no longer want to travel without coverage, especially in the post-COVID world. And knowing that if you need a doctor, you have that choice right there. You don't have to dive deep into cache search and whatnot. I think the metaphor to Yelp is helpful. There are definitely some similarities, but if you look at Yelp, you look for something, you're still going to get hundreds and hundreds of results, and you still need to filter down. We're only going to keep the cream of the crop, and that's the only way that's going to be. But it's definitely an advocacy and reputation model.
And I want to add a comment about Yelp. The Yelp subscription model also allows businesses to remove up to 2 negative reviews a month. That's not going to pass when we're talking about healthcare, because those 2 reviews you remove could be the difference between life and death. So that's one distinction with Yelp.
Okay, great. We'll just take one last question from Erica.
I guess, Mark, it's a two-parter, so I'll try to make it fast. Are you going to have any pricing transparency in this? I think given that it's out of pocket, people are going to probably want to know how much they're paying at each doctor if they have 10 options to choose from. And 2, is any reason why you're not going to go for a B2B market first?
Oh, great. Thanks for the question. I'll answer the B2B market first. I think the fact of the matter is that we can go after B2B and offer as a value-added services for employees of said companies. But I think the real issue right now is actually the people that are traveling themselves. I think that's the care, that's the vision that we've had, is everybody that's traveling rather than organizations. So I think we're going to do it twofold. But I think our focus is B2C first, especially given our relationship with UC, his military background. We want to go in that manner to make sure our proof of concept works. The first part of your question was, can you remind me of that?
Pricing transparency.
Right, yeah. I think that is a very interesting point. And first and foremost, I think it comes down to the quality and availability for the doctor. It would be very difficult in these foreign countries to be able to generalize the pricing for each doctor. So I think as we go and speak to each doctor, we can see if they're comfortable with ranges or if they prefer inquiry. I think it is nice for consumers to see the price that they're going to pay up front. But I think in terms of medical diagnosis and actually being on hand, it can actually be maybe not the best experience to quote 500 and actually cost 1,000. So I think we'll play that correctly with our providers.
Great, thank you. Thanks, CarpeMed team. That concludes all our pitching today. Just some housekeeping before we wrap it up. We are unfortunately a little bit over time, but we will be resuming at 7:30 to do our award ceremony. I believe everyone have already received an email from Louis from the launch team regarding the survey link to the audience choice. Please fill that up as soon as possible. And for the judges, please join us at the judge regrouping session. You all have an invite with a Zoom link to join. And for the investors, sorry that we can't have more questions during the session, but feel free to sign up again on the Calendly if you are interested in talk to a specific company. The Calendly is actually only available for tonight. After that, it won't work, so you have to reach out to the team individually. So please take the advantage to do that. All right, with that said, we will resume at 7:30. Have a nice break. We'll see you soon.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Louis.
We have, so the first thing I want to do before we go into awarding our prizes, the announcement of which I'm sure everyone is awaiting with bated breath. First thing I want to do is thank everyone who has been so instrumental in helping the Launch Accelerator become what it has been.
Now is not the time to do those things. Right now, we need to be running.
I hear noise in the background. Make sure you're muted if you're not me at the moment. First, I want to thank our instructor team, Andre, Rhonda, Darren. They've been invaluable with their wisdom and their guidance, and especially both with the startups and with the leadership team, of which we have a number of MBAs and undergrads who've all done amazing things with marketing the application, positioning the startup, running each program, and most importantly, pivoting in this time of great disruption and negative disruption, COVID. And additionally, I want to thank our judges, both for our demo day and Bootcamp 2 participants. And I want to thank our mentors who were with our startups from the beginning of their program and kept in touch and helped them grow and be able to really go from a starting place which was very different from where they ended up today in terms of proficiency, in terms of the appreciation of the market and their appreciation of their product. And the last people I want to thank are the startups themselves. Every single one, from the 12 who unfortunately did not make it to present on demo day, who still might have bright futures either in this endeavor or another, and the startups who pitched on demo day and now may either receive money and acclaim, or even if they didn't, should not feel at all unenthused about their chances of progressing further in the field of entrepreneurship. So yeah, that's my quick speech. And now I want, after thanking everyone and feeling excited, I want to get to the main event, which is the announcement of our prizes. And so the first person I'll call up, let me check my list. will be Erica, who is going to announce the General Audience Award. This is the award that if you were watching on YouTube or generally send it out to your friends, we're zooming this in. This is the one you all got to vote on. So take it away, Erica.
All right. Well, congratulations to SuperPetfoods for the Audience Choice Awards.
Yay.
Without the applause, this is going to be very weird.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Go.
Go guys!
Let's go. SuperPetfoods. I will say that Maria is a close personal friend. So, but I did not vote for her like 30 times or anything. So there was no nepotism. So the next person who will present an award, it will be our beloved Rhonda Schrader, who will give the award for investor choice, investor audience choice, which is our first monetary award. It's a $5,000 non-dilutive award.
It's going to make people much more
cool. Well, I just have to number one ask Vince, please.
We've seen over the last 50 years or so. Do you think that's
Okay.
Shall we mute that?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We'll just talk over him. So Maria, going back to you, literally half of Latin America voted for you. You had literally 46% of the vote. So very cool. But for the investor's choice, it pretty clear. $24,000 of revenue in 12 days. Got to go to Newmen. So congratulations, guys. Very well done.
Go Newmen!
Go Newmen!
Thank you. Let's go Newmen, boys!
And by the way, I will encourage for the first time on the Zoom call that if you win an award, please take off the mute, go crazy. We want some good energy here. If you
see
like,
that video.
yeah, nothing that necessarily, hopefully nothing that gets any of us arrested, but let's have fun.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Okay, so for our next award, which is our Best Pitch Award. And this award is for the team that we thought displayed amazing stagecraft in the presentation of their idea. Presenting this award will be Victoria.
Great, and the Best Pitch Award, $5,000, goes to Miravel. Congratulations, Randall and Riley.
Thank you guys. Appreciate it.
Hey.
Okay, so now we move on from these smaller awards, not that they're any less important or deserving, to our raw ranking awards, where we're giving out $60,000 worth of non-dilutive equity. This is just based on judges' rankings. A simple third, second, and first is how we'll do it. And to present the third place award is Sasha from WilmerHale, one of our amazing sponsors.
Thanks a lot, Lewis, and really congratulations to all the startups. Awesome pitches. It was really hard to choose the top three. But for prize number 3 for $10,000, big virtual round of applause for Sike Insights. Congrats.
Let's go.
Make some noise. Okay, amazing. So now we're going to go to 2 more prizes left. We're going to go to second place, a $20,000 award. And to present this award is going to be Brandon.
Everybody, great job to all of the teams. The second place award goes to SuperPetfoods. Congratulations. And thanks to everyone for letting
Congrats. Let's go.
Amazing. Maria, you're still muted, by the way. You shouldn't be.
Good dog.
Okay. Amazing.
Congrats.
So now the main event, the big one. And I'm going to hand this off to Jas, who's going to announce the first place award for $30,000.
All right. To echo Rhonda's comments and Lewis's comments, this was an incredible event, and it was really, really close. But the first place award, there has to be a winner. The first place award for $30,000 goes to Digiventures. Congratulations, guys.
Woo! Where's Santi? I need to hear Santi make some noise.
Take your walk across the stage. Take your walk across the stage.
There we go.
Work it, Santi.
So here we've come with our awards, and I think we cannot emphasize this enough. This was not an easy decision for anyone. This was a close ranking from beginning to end. And I will say that some of our number 1 or 2 award teams have gone off and done great things, but equally so, I've seen teams who pitched a demo day or even didn't get to pitch a demo day and went on to amazing success, raising, millions of dollars, getting great revenue, becoming our marquee startups. So it's the experience in addition to the award. It's what you learned here as much as it is what you earned here. So thank you so much. Appreciate all of you for helping make this, even for me on a personal note, and Vera, our 2 MCs for the night, a personal, amazing journey. And there we go. That's the end of the road.
Thank you, Lewis. Appreciate you, man.
Thank you. And thank you, Vera, by the way, who was the accelerator person who ran the nitty gritty from every single stage and who MC'd tonight in fine style, keeping people on time, enforcing the rules, but, without, pissing too many people off, which is
Great job, Vera. Great job. Thank you.
Great job, launch team. Thanks to the rest of the student team who were in the background, like solving problems all along the way, coming up with solutions when we had to turn on a dime. Thank you. Respect.
Everybody, amazing job.
Yep, great job all.
Good night. See you next year. Peace, love, and keep solving.
Stay in touch.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
Let's go.
Bye.
We're still on Slack, everyone. Keep in touch.
Hi guys.
Awesome.
Totally.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys.
Have an excellent night.